Imagine this: you wake up in the morning and go about your usual routine, checking your phone, brushing your teeth, preparing breakfast. You go to work, interact with people, make decisions, and live your life as if everything is real, as if everything is set in stone. But have you ever paused to wonder, is any of this real? What if everything you perceive, the people, the world around you, the events unfolding in your life, is nothing more than a projection, a carefully constructed illusion of your mind? What if everything you believe about yourself, about your choices, about your path in life, is not as concrete as you think? You've been living this illusion for as long as you can remember. It feels real. It seems real. Yet, deep down, you can't help but feel that something is off, that there's more to this reality than meets the eye. Every day, you make decisions, take actions, and react to external circumstances. But have you ever questioned the foundation on which these decisions are made? Are you truly in control? Or are you simply a puppet to forces far beyond your comprehension? This isn't just philosophical mumbo-jumbo. It's a critical question. What if your perception of reality, the life you're living, is just an illusion? You've probably heard of the concept of reality being subjective. But have you ever truly considered the depth of that idea? The very fabric of your life, the events you experience, the beliefs you hold, all of these may be based on a false narrative that your mind constructs and feeds you. Could it be possible that the world you experience is no more than an intricate play of your perceptions, a collection of sensory information shaped by the limitations of your consciousness? Take a moment to think about it. How much of what you experience is influenced by your beliefs, your expectations, or the stories you tell yourself? How many of the decisions you make every day are based on the assumption that what you perceive is the ultimate truth? What if those assumptions are incorrect? What if everything you believe to be true is shaped by something deeper, something that operates beneath the surface of your conscious mind, controlling your every move without you even knowing? You see, the reality you think you know may not be real at all. It may be a carefully crafted illusion, a projection of your mind's inner workings. But it's not just your mind that's constructing this illusion, it's your society, your culture, and the people around you that help solidify this false reality. The paradox is this: you are living in a reality that feels undeniable, but you don't truly know it. You think you have control over your life, but in many ways, you're simply following a script, unknowingly playing a part in a drama that's been written long before you stepped onto the stage. Here's the paradox again: you live as though your life is real, but it may be more malleable than you ever imagined. If your perception is indeed an illusion, then the very idea of control may also be an illusion. Are you really in control of your life, or are you being directed by an unseen force? What if, by breaking free of this illusion, you could truly understand yourself and unlock a life of freedom that feels authentic, real, and powerful? The illusion of reality is not merely an abstract philosophical concept, it is an integral part of human existence. This illusion is not just something we contemplate in the quiet moments of reflection. It shapes the way we think, how we behave, and how we experience life. The very framework upon which we build our identity is distorted by this illusion, and we are rarely aware of it. To break free from this illusion, we first need to understand why it exists and how it has come to dominate our existence. At the heart of this illusion is the ego, that part of the self that identifies with external labels, roles, and societal expectations. This ego builds a sense of identity based on external things: your job, your relationships, your accomplishments, your image in the eyes of others. It's the ego that creates the illusion of separateness, the belief that you are a distinct individual, separate from everything else in the world. Carl Jung, one of the greatest thinkers in the field of psychology, believed that the ego is not the entire self, it is merely the conscious mind's narrow perception of who we are. Jung's concept of the self is far more expansive, including the unconscious and the archetypes that reside within it. But for most people, the ego is all they know. This limited perception of reality leads them to believe that they are their ego, that they are their name, their job, their social roles. Jung argued that this is an illusion. The true self lies beyond the ego, hidden in the unconscious. The ego creates a false sense of self because it is cut off from this deeper reality. By identifying solely with the ego, we limit our perception of what is possible, trapping ourselves in an artificial construct. But the illusion of the ego does not exist in isolation. Society plays a huge role in reinforcing this false sense of self. Our culture, in its endless pursuit of achievement, success, and status, reinforces the idea that who you are is defined by what you have or what you do. In a world where external validation becomes the currency of success, we are taught to value ourselves based on how others perceive us. This, in turn, strengthens the ego's grip. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who famously declared, "God is dead," argued that modern culture had disconnected humanity from any higher meaning or sense of self. Nietzsche believed that in the absence of a higher power or transcendent purpose, people turn to the ego and social validation to create meaning in their lives. But this external validation is empty. It only reinforces the illusion of who we are, without allowing us to tap into our true selves. Jean-Paul Sartre also spoke about this idea when he wrote that existence precedes essence. He believed that people are born without inherent meaning and that they must create their own identity through their choices and actions. However, society pressures individuals to conform to a predefined set of roles, forcing them to live inauthentically. The cultural expectation that we must meet certain standards in order to be valued or accepted creates a sense of false purpose, leading people to live in the illusion that their worth is defined by external forces. To understand the full scope of the illusion, we must look at the philosophical underpinnings that have shaped human thought for centuries. Arthur Schopenhauer, one of the leading figures in German philosophy, saw the illusion of separateness as a central feature of human existence. He argued that humans live in a constant state of discontent because they fail to recognize the unity of all existence. Schopenhauer's idea of will, the internal force driving human desires, points to the inherent conflict between the ego's desires and the larger reality of interconnectedness. The ego believes that it is separate, that it needs to control its environment to be happy, but this desire creates endless suffering. The ego doesn't recognize that everything is interconnected, and that by seeking fulfillment through external validation, it is actually perpetuating its own dissatisfaction. Similarly, Aldous Huxley explored the illusion of self through his works, particularly in The Doors of Perception, where he wrote about how perception itself is limited by the mind's filters. Huxley argued that the ego creates a distorted view of reality, filtering out parts of the world in order to create a manageable and familiar construct. He suggested that by overcoming this limited perspective, through practices like meditation or psychedelic experiences, humans can experience a higher, more expansive reality, one in which the ego's dominance is diminished. When the ego is the only sense of self you know, it leaves you trapped in a constant cycle of striving for external validation. This creates an identity crisis. People often ask themselves, "Who am I really?" And yet the answer seems elusive. They may think they know themselves, but this self is constructed from the external world. It's a reflection of others' perceptions of them, their achievements, or their possessions. As a result, this self is fragile. If one part of the external world shifts, if a job is lost, a relationship ends, or a success falters, the identity feels threatened. The ego cannot survive without external confirmation. This is the source of anxiety, fear, and suffering, the constant need to cling to a false identity, to protect the illusion of self-worth that has been built on shaky ground. If you continue to live in this state of illusion, the consequences are profound. By identifying with a limited sense of self, you remain disconnected from your true potential. The deeper truth about who you are, your authentic self, your connection to the whole, is obscured by layers of societal conditioning, personal fears, and external expectations. The more you identify with the illusion, the more you lose touch with your true purpose. You become caught in a loop of perfectionism, external validation, and self-doubt, all of which feed the illusion that you are something separate from the world around you. This makes personal growth and self-actualization nearly impossible. You cannot grow into your full potential if you are constantly stuck in a false, limited identity. The consequences of this illusion extend beyond personal discomfort. It shapes the world we live in, where people are disconnected from each other, isolated in their individual struggles, and driven by the same false beliefs. Society thrives on this illusion, as it keeps people dependent on external sources of value, jobs, relationships, and material success. As we move forward, we will uncover how to escape the grip of this illusion and embrace a more authentic existence, one that connects us to our true nature and allows us to experience freedom, peace, and purpose. Are you ready to let go of the illusion and step into the truth? Let's explore how to break free from the chains of the ego and step into a reality that aligns with who you truly are. Imagine this: you've spent years striving for success, chasing goals, building your career, fitting into societal expectations. You've built an image of who you think you are, one that's closely tied to the external world around you. You've worked hard to maintain the illusion of who you are, afraid to question it, lest everything fall apart. You've been told that success means status, money, possessions, and approval. So you chase these things, thinking that they will finally bring the happiness and fulfillment you long for. But despite achieving so much, despite outward success, something feels wrong. You feel empty, disconnected, and dissatisfied. The discomfort you're experiencing doesn't come from an external force. It comes from within. It comes from the reality that your sense of self is entirely based on external validation. The self you've spent years building, your ego, is not the true you. The very foundation of your identity is fragile, and every time an aspect of it falters, you feel lost again, like you're drifting in the sea of uncertainty. The unseen consequences of this false identity are profound, shaping both your personal reality and the broader societal landscape. While the illusion of control might feel comforting in the short term, it ultimately traps you in a cycle of discontent, frustration, and disconnection from your true self. At the core of this illusion is a deeply ingrained cognitive bias, confirmation bias. This bias drives you to seek out information and experiences that reinforce your existing beliefs about who you are. You surround yourself with people who validate your image, who tell you that you're doing well, that your success is worthy of praise. You filter out information that challenges your view of yourself or makes you uncomfortable, such as the idea that the self you have worked so hard to build might be false. This filtering process keeps you locked in the illusion. The world is seen through the lens of the ego, reinforcing your identity. When you receive praise or positive feedback, it feels like fuel for the ego. You're validated. But when faced with criticism or failure, that same ego feels shattered, and the illusion of control and self-worth begins to crack. You start questioning who you are, but because the ego is so tightly tied to external validation, it has a hard time accepting anything outside the approved narrative. The fear of disconnection, of not being enough, looms large. This fear can control every aspect of your life, shaping your choices, your relationships, and your behaviors. But it's all based on a false belief. The very foundation of your perceived happiness is built on external, unstable constructs, not on an intrinsic, unshakable sense of self. Neurologically, this illusion is even more entrenched. Your brain is wired for connection. From an evolutionary standpoint, belonging to a group and receiving social validation were crucial for survival. The dopamine system plays a significant role in this. When you receive social approval, praise, or recognition, your brain releases dopamine, a neurochemical associated with pleasure and reward. This creates a feedback loop, positive reinforcement that keeps you returning to the same behaviors that feed the ego's desire for validation. This feedback loop, however, becomes dangerous when it controls your sense of self. Your brain begins to associate external validation with self-worth, and the more you rely on it, the less in touch you become with your authentic self. You crave the approval of others, whether it's in the form of social media likes, career accomplishments, or material wealth. But the moment the dopamine fades, you're left feeling empty once again, constantly chasing the next hit of approval to fill the void. On a societal level, the illusion is reinforced by cultural conditioning. From an early age, we are taught that success is synonymous with external markers, wealth, power, status, and appearance. Social media, advertising, and the entertainment industry perpetuate these ideals, creating a collective narrative that tells us who we should be. We are shown models of success, images of perfect lives, perfect bodies, and perfect achievements, that tell us what we need to be happy. The societal consensus subtly enforces the belief that success is the ultimate goal, and that without it, you are somehow less than. We are sold the illusion that more is better, that acquiring more possessions, climbing higher up the social ladder, and accumulating more achievements will finally bring fulfillment. In reality, this external measure of success is simply an illusion designed to keep you running. No matter how much you attain, it never feels like enough. The goalposts keep moving, and the ego continues to demand more to feel validated. The pursuit of external validation keeps you trapped in the illusion, never allowing you to tap into your true potential or find lasting peace. On a personal level, the effects of this illusion are clear. You feel unfulfilled, even after achieving what you once thought would bring happiness. You might experience moments of joy or satisfaction, but they are fleeting, short-lived bursts of dopamine before the inevitable crash. You feel empty, disconnected, and even exhausted from the constant striving, the ceaseless pursuit of external approval. This creates a sense of inner conflict, where your authentic desires, your need for true fulfillment, connection, and purpose, are overshadowed by the relentless demands of the ego. The more you attach yourself to this external identity, the more you lose sight of who you truly are, leaving you stuck in a cycle of confusion and dissatisfaction. On a societal level, the consequences are even more profound. This collective illusion creates a culture where individual worth is measured by external achievements. The pressure to conform to these societal ideals leads to widespread issues such as anxiety, depression, and identity crises. People feel lost because they are constantly striving for something that is unattainable, an idealized version of themselves dictated by societal expectations. In this environment, individuality is lost. People begin to prioritize societal approval over personal authenticity, masking their true selves in favor of meeting societal standards. This perpetuates a collective sense of disconnection, where everyone is chasing the same mirage, but no one is truly content. The urgency of escaping this unseen trap cannot be overstated. The illusion keeps you stuck in a pattern of perpetual dissatisfaction. You are not your ego. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you can begin to break free from the cycle of self-rejection and external validation. But it is not easy. It requires a deep shift in perspective, one that challenges everything you've been taught and everything you've believed about yourself. This is not about abandoning the external world or rejecting success. It is about reclaiming your authentic self, understanding that you are not defined by external approval, that true fulfillment comes from within, from connecting to the deepest parts of yourself. But to do that, you must first recognize the illusion you've been living in and take the first step toward awakening to the reality of who you truly are. The question is, are you ready to face the truth about yourself? Are you prepared to let go of the false identity that has been holding you back, and take the journey toward a life of true fulfillment? Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the very thing you've been pursuing your whole life, the external validation, the accolades, the image of success, isn't actually what you want. You've been chasing a mirage, and the satisfaction you've been promised is nothing more than an illusion. But there's a sense of empowerment in this realization. For the first time, you see the truth. The illusion you've been living in is not the ultimate reality, it's a construct. And now you have a choice. You can continue chasing this empty path, or you can choose to break free. You can let go of the false narrative that's been holding you captive and embrace something deeper, something that transcends the limitations of the ego and societal expectations. This shift in perspective is radical, and it will challenge everything you thought you knew about life. Reclaiming your true self is not about abandoning your ambitions or withdrawing from society. It's about recognizing that you are not defined by your achievements or your image in the eyes of others. True freedom comes from stepping outside the illusion and reconnecting with the deeper truths of who you are. For years, you've believed that you need to control everything: your environment, your success, your image. But the truth is, control is an illusion. The more you try to control, the more you entangle yourself in a web of fear, insecurity, and anxiety. Control becomes a prison, and you're the one locking yourself inside. The real breakthrough happens when you realize that the more you let go of control, the more you allow yourself to flow with life, the more you begin to live authentically. When you stop trying to force outcomes and instead start trusting yourself and the universe, you unlock the potential to experience a deeper, more fulfilling existence. The illusion of control feeds the ego. It convinces you that if you can just control the right things, then you will find peace, success, and happiness. But the reality is far different. Peace and success are not the result of control. They are byproducts of accepting impermanence and embracing life's uncertainty. This is the first step in breaking free from the false identity of the ego. Here's the counterintuitive solution: embrace vulnerability. For so long, you've been taught that vulnerability is a weakness. That exposing your true self, flaws, doubts, insecurities, is something to be avoided at all costs. But in truth, vulnerability is the key to freedom. It's only by allowing yourself to be vulnerable that you can truly experience authentic connection with yourself and others. When you strip away the facade, the perfect image of who you think you should be, you open the door to true emotional depth. You stop hiding behind masks and start living genuinely, without fear of judgment. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the shadow self, suggested that embracing our shadow, the parts of ourselves we try to hide or repress, is crucial for self-actualization. The shadow holds the keys to understanding who we truly are. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, when we accept the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding, we take the first step toward personal liberation. History is full of examples of individuals who broke free from the illusions of societal norms and expectations. These individuals didn't just change their own lives, they changed the course of history. Consider the case of Socrates, the ancient philosopher who rejected the conventional wisdom of his time. He didn't seek external validation, nor did he conform to society's expectations. Instead, he questioned everything: the world around him, his own beliefs, and the very nature of existence. In doing so, he paved the way for modern philosophy and showed the power of living authentically. Similarly, Friedrich Nietzsche, with his radical idea of the Übermensch, encouraged people to transcend societal norms and embrace their inner power. Nietzsche's philosophy challenged people to reject the herd mentality and create their own values, independent of the approval of others. By embracing the will to power and living in accordance with one's true self, Nietzsche argued, one could break free from the illusions of society and live a life of authentic self-expression. Then there's the example of Viktor Frankl, who, despite enduring the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp, found meaning and purpose in life. Frankl's logotherapy is built on the premise that meaning can be found in any situation, no matter how difficult or oppressive. By embracing a deeper purpose, beyond societal validation or success, Frankl was able to transcend his circumstances and teach others how to do the same. These individuals didn't just reject external validation, they embraced vulnerability, questioned the status quo, and found meaning in the face of adversity. They broke free from the illusions that bind most people to a life of external expectations, showing that the path to freedom lies in living with authenticity, embracing uncertainty, and finding inner purpose. Breaking free from the illusion of control and embracing vulnerability is not easy. It requires radical honesty with yourself. It means questioning everything you've been taught and looking at the world through a new lens. But this is the path to true liberation. When you stop chasing the illusion of external success and instead reconnect with your authentic self, you unlock the power to create your own meaning and purpose. The journey to freedom is not about abandoning responsibility or rejecting society. It's about reclaiming your inner power. It's about trusting yourself and having the courage to take bold steps, even when the outcome is uncertain. You don't need to control the future. You only need to be present with yourself in the moment and make decisions that align with your true self. The more you let go of the need to control and accept life's uncertainty, the more you find a sense of inner peace and empowerment. This is the paradox. When you stop trying to control, you find true control over your life. You find freedom. Here's the truth: the path to breaking free from the illusion is not about finding a new external goal to chase. It's about shifting your mindset and embracing a new way of thinking, one that's based on internal authenticity, vulnerability, and self-trust. This shift will change everything. Instead of looking to external sources for validation, you will look inward. Instead of following the rules imposed by society, you will create your own. The more you accept uncertainty, the more you free yourself from the chains of the ego and societal pressures. Imagine standing on the precipice, looking out into the vast unknown, feeling both fear and exhilaration coursing through your body. For years, you've followed the path that society, your ego, and the people around you dictated. You built your identity upon external validation, measured your worth by others' approval, and filled your days with a chase that never seemed to end. But now, you're standing at the edge of everything. The illusion you've lived under is starting to fade, and you can feel the weight of the truth pressing upon you, like a great revelation rising from within. The road ahead is uncertain, and yet, for the first time, you feel an unshakable sense of clarity. Here's the truth you've been avoiding: you are not your ego. You are not your accomplishments. You are not the roles you play or the things you've achieved. You are so much more. This is the final revelation, the most profound truth you could ever realize about your life. And this truth is not just liberating, it is transformational. Everything you've been taught, everything you've come to believe about yourself and the world, has been a construction, an illusion built by the ego, by societal conditioning, by the endless pursuit of external validation. This illusion, while comforting in its simplicity, has kept you trapped in a cycle of unfulfillment, fear, and anxiety. But now, as you stand on the edge of this great shift, the illusion begins to crumble. The walls you've built around your identity start to fall away. The need to cling to approval, the desire to control everything, the fear of losing yourself, all of it begins to dissolve. What remains is something simpler but far more profound: you, in your most authentic form. At first, this truth may be unsettling. It might feel as though you're losing something important, as though you're letting go of the very fabric of your identity. But here's the paradox: you're not losing anything at all. You're gaining everything. You see, the true self is not confined to the narrow roles and identities the ego has imposed. The true self is expansive, boundless, connected to all things. It's the part of you that has always been there, beneath the layers of societal expectations, beneath the stories you've told yourself, beneath the need to fit in. It's the part of you that is free, alive, and limitless. When you let go of the illusion, you no longer feel the need to control everything around you. For so long, you believed that if you could manage every aspect of your life, your career, your relationships, your image, then you would find peace. But now, you understand that peace is not found through control. It's found through flow, through embracing the uncertainty and spontaneity of life. The paradox of life is that the more we try to control it, the more uncontrollable it becomes. The tighter we grip the illusion, the more we restrict our own potential. But when we release control, we begin to move with life, instead of fighting against it. We start to feel a sense of ease, a natural flow where we are in tune with our deeper selves. This shift from control to flow is the ultimate paradigm shift. It's the realization that you don't need to control the world around you to find peace and fulfillment. In fact, the more you try to control, the more you block the flow of life that is available to you. As the illusion fades, you come face to face with a truth that has always been there but that you've been too afraid to accept. Uncertainty is not something to fear, it is the very essence of freedom. For most of your life, you've feared the unknown. You've sought certainty, stability, and predictability. But in doing so, you've closed yourself off to the vast potential of the present moment. You've ignored the fact that life is constantly unfolding, that there is no such thing as a fixed path. The only thing you can truly control is your response to the unknown. Embrace uncertainty as the gift it is. Every moment is a blank canvas, waiting for you to paint it with your choices, your actions, and your authentic expression. When you let go of the illusion of control, you give yourself the freedom to create your life as you see fit. You step into the flow of life, and you begin to experience true freedom. Here's the most profound realization: you've always known who you are. Beneath the layers of conditioning, beneath the expectations of others, beneath the mask of the ego, there is a true self waiting to be recognized. It's not something you have to create, it's something you need to remember. In this moment of realization, you are reconnecting with your core, the part of you that has always been whole, complete, and perfectly imperfect. This true self is not defined by external achievements, nor by the opinions of others. It is connected to something deeper, something eternal. And as you begin to tap into this deeper part of yourself, you find that you no longer need to seek external validation. You no longer need to strive for something that isn't truly yours. You are enough just as you are. As you step away from the illusion, you begin to experience life differently. You no longer feel lost because you know that you are exactly where you need to be. The pressure to conform, to succeed, to be something you're not fades away. You no longer chase external approval because you have found your internal source of validation. You no longer fear the unknown because you understand that uncertainty is life's invitation to grow. This is the ultimate truth, the realization that your life was never meant to be about chasing after something external, something that was never truly yours. It was meant to be about remembering who you really are, reconnecting with your essence, and embracing the freedom that comes from living authentically. This is the moment when everything changes, when you realize that you've been free all along. The choice is yours. Will you continue to cling to the illusion, or will you embrace the truth? The path to freedom is waiting for you. All it takes is the courage to step out of the shadows and into the light of who you truly are.